I'm the deputy who recovered Sheriff Hendrick's body cam after he vanished in the Colorado wilderness, and for the last 2 years, I've kept what I saw on that footage a secret. On the recording you can hear him lower his shotgun and whisper to something in the trees, and then you hear it respond in a voice that still makes my hands shake. What did a creature that's supposedly just an animal say to a cop moments before he disappeared forever? My name is Maria Chin. I've been a deputy for 8 years in a small county in Colorado, up near the San Juan Mountains. When people ask what it's like working out here, I tell them it's quiet. Mostly drunk drivers, lost hikers, the occasional domestic call. Nothing that keeps you up at night. That was true until March 2023. Until Sheriff Tom Hendricks went into those woods and didn't come back. Tom was the kind of cop you see in old movies. Steady hands, calm voice, always knew what to say to scared people. He'd been on the force for 28 years. 28 years without a single complaint, without a bad shoot, without losing his temper even once. He had 2 daughters. One was getting married that summer. He was 2 weeks away from retirement. 2 weeks. Everyone at the station had already chipped in for his fishing rod. It was wrapped in blue paper in the break room. I need you to understand that so you know what kind of man we're talking about. Tom didn't chase ghosts. He didn't tell wild stories at the bar. He was the guy who made you feel safe just by showing up. That's why what happened to him messed me up so bad. It started 6 months before he disappeared. Ranchers started calling about their livestock. Not just 1 or 2 animals going missing. Whole elk herds getting torn apart in ways that didn't make sense. Cattle found with their necks broken but no bite marks. No claw marks either. Whatever was killing them wasn't eating them. It was just killing. The state sent a wildlife guy out. He walked the properties, looked at the damage, and got real quiet. He told us it wasn't bears. It wasn't mountain lions. The tracks he found didn't match anything in his books. Tom started keeping notes. I'd see him at his desk after shift, writing in this little journal. He'd sketch the prints the ranchers described. Huge things. 19 inches long with 5 toes. He measured the stride between them. Over 6 feet. He showed me once. We walked it out in the parking lot. I'm 5'6". I had to stretch my legs as far as they'd go and still couldn't match it. He just looked at me and said, something that big shouldn't be able to move that quiet. The calls kept coming. More livestock. Then hikers started reporting things too. Sounds in the forest that didn't belong. Deep whooping noises that echoed through the valleys. One guy swore something followed him for 3 miles on the old mine trail. Said he never saw it, but he could hear branches breaking behind him. Heavy footsteps that stopped whenever he stopped. He ran the last mile to his car. When he got there, he said he looked back and saw something tall step behind a tree. Not a bear standing up. Something with shoulders. We get calls like that sometimes. People see shadows and their minds fill in monsters. But this guy wasn't some kid trying to get attention. He was a teacher from Denver, up here with his wife for their anniversary. His hands shook the whole time he gave his statement. Tom took the call seriously. He drove out to the trailhead that night. It was late March. Still cold. Snow on the ground in patches. Tom went alone because we were short-staffed. Budget cuts meant skeleton crews after dark. Just him and dispatch. His last radio check came in at 11:47. His voice was calm like always. I've got movement up ahead. I'm going to investigate. Dispatch said okay. Told him to check in every 15 minutes. He never did. When he didn't answer the next radio call, dispatch tried his cell. Straight to voicemail. They tried again. And again. At 1 in the morning they called me at home. I was there in 20 minutes. We sent everyone we had. By dawn we had search and rescue dogs and volunteers from town. We found his cruiser at the old mine trailhead right where he'd parked it. The driver door was open. The engine is still running. Headlights cutting through the morning fog. His shotgun was gone. I was the one who found his footprints leading into the trees. Boot prints, clear as day in the mud. He'd walked maybe 200 yards in. Then they just stopped. Not like he turned around. Not like he climbed something. They just ended. Mid-stride in soft ground. Like he'd been picked up. Next to where his prints ended we found others. Huge. Barefoot. 5 toes pressed deep into the earth. The stride between them was massive. I measured it myself. 6.5 feet. The dogs went crazy at that spot. Barking, pulling at their leashes, then suddenly they'd stop and whine. Wouldn't go any further. Their handlers said they'd never seen anything like it. We kept searching. That's when I noticed the trees. 20 yards past where Tom's tracks ended, 3 pine trees had been snapped. Not cut. Snapped. The breaks were fresh, sap still wet. They'd been broken at 9, maybe 10 feet off the ground. You'd need a truck to break trees that thick. Or something with a lot of strength and a lot of anger. We searched for 3 days. Brought in helicopters. Checked every cave, every ridge, every drainage. Nothing. It was like the forest had swallowed him whole. On day 4 the department called it. They said he'd probably fallen, hit his head, and animals had scattered his remains. They closed the case. His daughter cried at the memorial. I watched her hold that wrapped fishing rod and something in my chest cracked. But I knew they were lying. Because 2 days after they closed the case, forensics called me. They'd found his body cam. They found the body cam 200 yards into the forest, way off the trail where Tom's prints had ended. A volunteer spotted it wedged between 2 rocks near a creek bed. The camera was covered in mud and pine needles. The lens was cracked right down the middle like something had stepped on it. When they brought it back to the station, everyone gathered around. The captain held it up to the light and shook his head. Water had gotten inside. The plastic casing had a dent the size of a fist. He handed it to me and said, "Don't get your hopes up." I took it to our tech guy, Davis. He's the one who handles all our digital evidence, pulls data from phones, fixes our ancient computers when they crash. He looked at the camera and whistled low. "This thing took a beating," he said. "Might not be anything left on it." He plugged it into his computer anyway. I watched the screen while he worked. Loading bars appeared and disappeared. Error messages popped up. The memory card was corrupted. Most of the data was gone. Davis clicked through folders, tried different programs, pulled up code I didn't understand. After 2 hours he sat back in his chair. "I got something," he said. 47 seconds. That's all that survived. My hands were shaking when I reached for the mouse. Davis looked at me. "You sure you want to see this?" I nodded. He hit play. At first there was nothing but black screen and static. Then the image flickered on. Tom's camera, his point of view, bouncing as he walked. Trees everywhere. Darkness except for his flashlight beam cutting through the pines. I could hear him breathing. Hard breaths like he'd been moving fast. The timestamp in the corner said 11:42 at night. 5 minutes before his last radio check. The audio was clear at first. I heard his boots on the ground, breaking sticks, crunching leaves. His flashlight swept left and right. Then he stopped. The camera steadied. In the dirt ahead, caught in the beam of his light, were prints. Huge footprints pressed deep into the mud. You could see every detail. 5 toes. A heel. An arch like a human foot but 3 times bigger. Tom's voice came through his radio mic. "Dispatch, I've got viable tracks. Large bipedal. This is," he paused, "Jesus, this is real." He started moving again. Following the prints. His light stayed focused on the ground, tracking each massive step. The forest around him was so dark. Just black trees and that one beam of light. I could hear how hard he was breathing now. Faster. Nervous. Then he stopped again. The camera went still. His light pointed straight ahead into the trees. For 3 seconds there was nothing. Just darkness and the sound of wind. Then something moved. The light caught it. Just a shoulder at first. Massive and covered in dark brown hair. The hair was matted, clumped with mud and bits of pine needles stuck in it. The thing shifted and more of it came into view. An arm. Long, thick with muscle. Then it turned. Tom's light hit its back, its neck, and then its head. He sucked in a breath so sharp it crackled through the speaker. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Easy now. I'm not here to hurt you." I heard something I'll never forget. The sound of his shotgun. Not firing. The sound of him lowering it. The barrel scraped against his jacket as he pointed it down at the ground. He was 28 years old and trained to keep his weapon ready. And he lowered it. For a second, the camera bounced as he adjusted his grip. Then it steadied again. The creature turned fully around. Tom's light was right on its face. I saw it for maybe 3 seconds. 3 seconds burned into my brain forever. It had a heavy brow. Deep-set eyes that caught the light and reflected it back. Not like animal eyes that glow. These just shone dark and wet. The face was flat, almost human but not quite. Wider. The jaw was stronger. There was no snout, no muzzle like a bear. Its mouth was closed but I could see the shape of lips. It looked at Tom. Not past him. At him. Like it was studying him the same way he was studying it. "Oh my God," Tom whispered. His voice cracked on the last word. Then it made a sound. I'd read about this in Tom's notes. He'd called it samurai chatter. People in the mountains had recorded sounds like this for years. Deep, rough, fast syllables that almost sounded like words. But hearing it on the footage was different. It was loud. So loud the camera's microphone peaked and distorted. The audio crackled and buzzed. But under the static you could hear the pattern. It wasn't just noise. There was rhythm to it. Breaks between sounds like sentences. Like it was trying to say something. Tom took a step back. The camera shook. Then I heard it. Branches snapping. Not in front of him. To his left. He spun and the camera whipped around. Another shape in the darkness. Taller. The light barely reached it, but I saw the outline. Then more snapping branches to his right. Tom spun again. A third shape. He was surrounded. "I'm leaving," Tom said. His voice was high now. Scared. All that training, all those years staying calm, and you could hear it breaking. "I'm leaving," he said again. Louder. Everything happened fast after that. Something rushed at him from the side. A blur of movement. The camera tilted hard as Tom was hit. His flashlight spun. I saw the ground, then sky, then trees sideways. There was a roar. Not like a bear. Deeper. It vibrated through the speaker and made my desk rattle. The camera tumbled. I caught a flash of something. A hand. Huge, covered in dark hair, fingers spread wide, reaching toward the lens. Then Tom shouted one word. Wait. The images cut to black. The audio died. 47 seconds. That's all there was. I sat there staring at the black screen. Davis didn't say anything. The office was completely quiet. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I made Davis play it again. Then again. I watched it 11 times that first night. Every time I focused on something different. The way Tom lowered his weapon. The intelligence in those eyes. The coordinated movement of the others closing in. This wasn't a dumb animal protecting territory. This was strategy. The next morning I came in early before anyone else. I needed to see the footage again with fresh eyes. I locked my office door and pulled it up on my computer. This time I went through it frame by frame. I paused every second, studied every detail. The timestamp helped me break it down exactly. I made notes on a pad of paper, writing down everything I saw and heard. 0 to 8 seconds. Tom is following the tracks. His breathing is steady at first. You can hear confidence in his voice when he radios dispatch. But there's something else too. Excitement maybe. Like he finally found what he'd been looking for all those months. The tracks are clear in his flashlight beam. Each footprint is pressed almost 3 inches deep into the mud. Whatever made them was heavy. Very heavy. 9 to 21 seconds. He spots it. The moment his light catches that shoulder, everything changes. You can hear it in his breathing. It speeds up. Gets shallow. But he doesn't run. He doesn't yell. He whispers. Easy now. I'm not here to hurt you. Then comes the sound I keep hearing in my sleep. His shotgun was lowered. Metal scraping against fabric. That sound meant something. It meant he made a choice. He looked at whatever was in those trees and decided it wasn't a threat. Or maybe he decided he didn't want to be the threat. 22 to 35 seconds. The face. I zoomed in as much as I could without the image getting too blurry. Those 3 seconds when the light hit it full on. The brow was a thick, heavy bone that stuck out over the eyes. But the eyes themselves. They weren't blank. They weren't the flat, empty stare you see in animals. There was depth there. Awareness. When it looked at Tom, it was looking at him. Seeing him. Understanding he was there. Tom's voice when he says, "Oh my God." He's not scared at that moment. He's amazed. Then it speaks. I isolated the audio of that vocalization. Played it over and over. It lasted 4 seconds. Deep, rumbling sounds that rose and fell. The pattern repeated twice. Not random noise. There was structure to it. I counted 7 distinct syllables. The microphone couldn't handle how loud it was. The audio spiked into the red and crackled. But underneath the distortion I could hear the tone. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't a roar or a growl. It sounded more like, I don't know, communication. Like it was answering him. 36 to 43 seconds. This is where it gets bad. The branches snap on his left. Sharp cracks like gunshots. Tom spins. His light catches another figure. Bigger than the first one. Then snapping on his right. He spins again. A third shape just at the edge of his beam. They'd surrounded him. 3 of them. Maybe more in the dark. He starts backing up. The camera shakes with each step. I'm leaving. His voice is different now. High and thin. Scared. He says it twice. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. But he doesn't run. Even terrified, even surrounded, he backs away slowly. Still trying not to seem like a threat. 44 to 47 seconds. The attack happens so fast. Something hits him from the side. The camera tilts almost sideways. His flashlight goes wild. I see ground, pieces of sky through the trees, a spinning view of trunks and branches. Then there's the roar. I had to turn my volume down the first time I heard it. So deep it makes the speakers buzz. It doesn't sound like any animal I've ever heard. Not a bear. Not a mountain lion. Something else. Something bigger. The camera tumbles and for just a fraction of a second, less than half a second, I see it. A hand. Huge. Fingers spread wide like it's reaching. Hair covers the back of it. Dark brown, almost black. The fingers are thick, longer than any human fingers. Then Tom shouts. Wait. Just that one word. The camera hits something hard. The screen goes black. Static. Nothing. I sat back in my chair and rubbed my eyes. The sun was coming up outside my window. I'd been staring at the screen for 2 hours. My neck hurts. My eyes burned. But I couldn't stop thinking about that hand. The size of it. And Tom's last word. Wait. Please do not help. Not a scream. Wait. Like he was trying to tell them something. Like he thought they might listen. I started going through Tom's desk. I had his journal, the one with all his notes about the livestock kills and the strange sounds. I flipped through the pages. His handwriting got messier toward the end. More urgent. He'd sketched the footprints over and over, trying to get the proportions right. He'd written down measurements. Notes about stride length and weight distribution. On one page, he'd written the word samurai chatter in all caps and circled it 3 times. Under it, he'd listed websites and forum posts. People who claimed they'd recorded these sounds in forests all over the country. Washington, Oregon, Northern California, and Colorado. I found a page near the back that made my stomach drop. It was dated 2 days before he disappeared. He'd drawn a rough map of our county. The mountains, the valleys, the main trails. He'd circled 3 areas in a red pen. Under the map, he'd written one sentence. Family groups. Stay away. He knew. Before he went out there that night, he knew what was in those woods. And he went anyway. The last page of the journal had just one entry. No date. The handwriting was shaky like he'd written it fast. It said, if I'm right about what's taking the livestock, I need to see it myself. Not for proof. For protection. I read that line 10 times. Protection. Not his protection. He meant their protection. He wanted to see them so he could protect them. From what? From who? Then I remembered the hikers. The reports. The rumors that were starting to spread around town. People were talking. Some were getting curious. Others were getting scared. And scared people with guns do stupid things. I closed the journal and looked at my computer screen. The frozen image of that hand reaching toward the camera. Tom had gone into those woods trying to help. And now he was gone. The footage was all that was left. 47 seconds that proved everything and explained nothing. The captain called me into his office 3 days later. He was sitting behind his desk with his hands folded. His face looked tired. When I walked in, I saw 2 other people already there. A man and a woman in dark suits. They didn't introduce themselves. The captain told me to sit down. His voice was flat. Different from normal. Maria, he said, we need to talk about the body cam footage. I sat in the chair across from his desk. The 2 people in suits stood against the wall behind me. I could feel them there even though I wasn't looking at them. The captain pulled out a folder and opened it. Inside were screenshots from Tom's footage. The creature's face. The hand reaching toward the camera. He slid them across the desk to me. We're sealing this, he said. All of it. The footage, the reports, everything related to Sheriff Hendricks' disappearance. As of today, this investigation is closed. I looked at the screenshots. Then at him. What about Tom's family? I asked. His daughter deserves to know what happened. The captain's jaw tightened. The official report says he died of exposure in the wilderness. That's what the family knows. That's what everyone will know. I started to argue, but the woman behind me spoke up. Her voice was calm and cold. Deputy Chin, she said, we understand this is difficult. But releasing this footage would create serious problems. I turned around to look at her. She was young, maybe 35, with her hair pulled back tight. She had a badge clipped to her belt, but it was turned around so I couldn't see what agency she was from. The man next to her was older, gray at the temples, arms crossed over his chest. What kind of problems? I asked. She stepped forward. Panic, she said. Vigilante hunting parties. People are flooding into these mountains with guns looking for proof or revenge or glory. Forest fires from idiots camping in restricted areas. And worst of all, the loss of innocent life. Both human and otherwise. I felt my face get hot. Otherwise, I said. You mean them? She didn't blink. We mean all parties involved. Our job is to prevent situations that could spiral into tragedy. Your Sheriff Hendricks understood that. He went into those woods alone at night to verify reports before they spread. He was trying to protect something. We're trying to do the same. The man spoke for the first time. His voice was deeper, rougher. We've seen what happens when footage like this gets out, he said. Patterson-Gimlin film, 1967. Know what followed? Reward hunters. Bounties. People started shooting at anything big and brown in the woods. Elk, bears, even other hunters in ghillie suits. 3 people died that year alone in California. All because of one film. The woman pulled out a chair and sat down next to me. Deputy Chin, she said, leaning in close, we're not the bad guys here. We're trying to prevent exactly what happened to your sheriff from happening to someone else. The footage stays buried. You continue your work. Everyone moves on. I looked at the captain. He wouldn't meet my eyes. This is coming from above me, he said quietly. Way above me. There's nothing I can do. I left his office feeling sick. They were right and I hated that they were right. I'd already started researching what happened after people claimed they saw Bigfoot. The stories were ugly. Groups of men organizing hunts with dogs and rifles. Traps set in the woods. Poison bait left on trails. In the 70s, some guy in Oregon claimed he shot one and tried to bring the body out on a truck. Turned out to be a hunter in a costume. But the damage was done. 4 months after, people shot at anything that moved in those forests. Hikers stopped going out. Tourism died. The Forest Service had to close whole sections of wilderness. But Tom's footage was different. It was clear. It was real. And it showed something that would change everything. These weren't just animals. They used tools, lived in groups, communicated with each other. They had language. The woman in the suit was right about one thing. If this got out, people would come. And they wouldn't come to study or observe. They'd come to capture. To prove. To own. 2 weeks later, I was going through evidence logs when I found something that made my blood run cold. Tom's personal effects. The things we'd recovered from the search. I pulled the box from storage and opened it. His radio. His flashlight cracked and dead. His belt. And at the bottom, something I'd forgotten about. His hat. We'd found it 3 days into the search. I remembered because of where we found it. 2 miles from his cruiser. 2 miles in the opposite direction from where the body cam was recovered. I picked up the hat. It was his regular uniform cap, dark blue with our county seal on the front. But it wasn't dirty. It wasn't torn or damaged. It looked like it had been carefully placed somewhere and protected from the weather. I checked the log. Found on a tree stump near Copper Creek. Set upright. I read that line 3 times. Set upright. Not dropped. Not blown there by wind. Placed. I went back to the evidence box and found the report on his shotgun. We'd recovered it a week into the search. Found in 2 pieces near the ridge line. The stock was snapped clean off from the barrel. I'd seen broken guns before. Accidents, drops, even a car running one over. They didn't break like this. The metal where the stock connected was bent. Twisted. Like someone had grabbed both ends and snapped it over their knee. The report estimated it would take over 1,000 pounds of force to break a shotgun that way. I sat there with his hat in my hands and thought about what it all meant. They'd taken his body cam and left it where we'd find it. They'd placed his hat carefully on a stump. They'd broken his gun and left the pieces far from where he disappeared. This wasn't random. This was deliberate. They were telling us something. Marking boundaries maybe. Or sending a message. We were here. We found him. This is what we do to weapons. The livestock attacks had stopped completely after Tom disappeared. Not a single call in 2 months. The woods had gone quiet. Whatever was out there, they'd made their point. I made a decision that night. Before the department wiped the servers and destroyed the footage like the suits had ordered, I made a copy. Burned it onto a disk, then copied it to a small flash drive. I took both home and hid them. One in my safe. One buried in my backyard in a waterproof case. Insurance maybe. Or evidence for later. I didn't know which. I just knew I couldn't let it disappear completely. That was 2 years ago. I don't work in that county anymore. I transferred out 6 months after Tom disappeared. Moved to a different state, took a job in a bigger department where the calls are about robberies and car accidents and things that make sense. Things I can write reports about without lying. My captain here doesn't know about the footage. Nobody does. The flash drive sits in my safe at home. Sometimes months go by and I don't think about it. Then I'll see something on the news, another hiker missing in the mountains, another report of strange sounds in the forest, and I'll come home and take it out. Hold it in my hand. This tiny piece of plastic that contains the clearest proof anyone's ever captured. I'm only telling this story now because people need to understand what we're dealing with. Not what. Oh, that's the part that keeps me up at night. Not that something big lives in the woods. But something intelligent is out there. Something that communicates, that makes choices, that understands when it's being threatened. Tom saw that in those 3 seconds when the light hit its face. That's why he lowered his weapon. He recognized something in those eyes. Something that made shooting feel like murder instead of self-defense. The real horror isn't that Bigfoot exists. I've made my peace with that. The real horror is what we've done. 200 years of pushing into every wild place. Building roads and houses and ski resorts. Cutting down forests. Bringing guns and cameras and dogs. These things were here first. They watched us arrive. Watch us take over. And they've been hiding ever since. Not because they're animals running on instinct. Because they're smart enough to know what happens when they're seen. Tom's final act was lowering his shotgun. That took more courage than keeping it raised. He looked at something that could snap him like a twig and chose respect over fear. And they responded. They let him walk closer. They communicated back when he spoke. It was only when he tried to leave, when they thought he might bring others back, that things went wrong. The footage shows contact, not attack. Not until he backed away and they thought he was running to get help. I think about his last word a lot. Wait, what was he trying to say? Wait, don't hurt me? Wait, let me explain? Or maybe wait, I understand? I'll never know. But that word tells me everything about who Tom was. Even surrounded, even terrified, he was still trying to talk. Still trying to make them understand he wasn't the enemy. I went to his daughter's wedding last summer. She got married in a little church near the mountains. The same mountains where her father disappeared. During the reception she came up to me. We talked a few times since he died, but never about what really happened. She had a glass of wine in her hand and tears in her eyes. She asked me if I thought he suffered. If I thought it was quick. I wanted to tell her the truth. That he died trying to protect something important. That his last moments were spent showing mercy to creatures the world says don't exist. That he was braver than anyone would ever know. Instead, I held her hand and told her I thought it was fast. That he didn't feel pain. She nodded and thanked me and went back to her guests. I still have his journal. I keep it with the flash drive. On the last page, the one where he wrote about protection, there's something else I didn't notice at first. In the margin, in tiny letters, he'd written coordinates. I looked them up once. They point to a section of wilderness about 15 miles from where he disappeared. Deep forest, no trails, no roads. Protected land that's been closed to the public for decades. I've never gone there. I never will. Some places are meant to stay hidden. The body cam footage exists. It's 47 seconds of the clearest evidence anyone has ever captured. You can see the creature's face. You can hear it speak. You can watch a veteran law enforcement officer lower his weapon in recognition of something that deserved to live. And it's going to stay buried. Not because the truth doesn't matter, but because some truths are more dangerous than lies. Tom understood that when he went into those woods alone instead of bringing a team. When he whispered easily instead of shouting commands. When he lowered his shotgun and showed his empty hands. I understand it now too. If I released the footage, it would be everywhere in an hour. Every news channel, every website, every phone screen in the world. And then the forest would fill with people. People with night vision and tranquilizer guns. People with traps and tracking dogs. People say words like specimen and discovery and historic. They'd call it science. They'd call it progress. But Tom would call it what it really is. Hunting. So the footage stays in my safe. The journal stays hidden. And somewhere in the Colorado mountains, in the deep places where the trees grow thick and the trails don't reach, they're still out there. Still watching. Still hiding. Still remembering what happened to the man who came to them with respect and left behind only a broken gun and a carefully placed hat. If you're ever deep in those mountains and you hear something that sounds like words in a language you don't know, I'm telling you what Tom would tell you. What he tried to tell them before it was too late. Back away slowly. Keep your hands where they can see them. Show respect. Don't run. Don't shout. Don't reach for weapons or cameras. Just acknowledge that you're in their home. That they were here first. That you understand. And then leave. They'll let you. They've shown they can be merciful. They let hikers pass through all the time, invisible and silent. It's only when we push, when we chase, when we try to prove or capture our own, that things go wrong. Tom Hendricks spent 28 years protecting people. In his last moments, he tried to protect something else. Something the world isn't ready to accept. I'm honoring that choice. The footage stays buried. The forest stays quiet. And if you listen close on a still night in the mountains, you might hear them. Deep voices calling to each other across the valleys. Not animal sounds. Something else. Something that sounds almost like language. Don't go looking for them. They don't want to be found. Just know that they're there. And that they're watching. And that one good man died trying to keep them safe. That's the only proof that matters.